Spider-Man, one of the most beloved superheroes in the world. But before the mask, before the legend, there was just a boy named Peter Parker. His story isn't just about powers, it's about tragedy, sacrifice, and the weight of responsibility. Peter Parker was born in Queens, New York, to Richard and Mary Parker. But fate dealt him an early blow. His parents died in a plane crash, leaving Peter an orphan. From then on, he was raised by his kind and caring Aunt May and Uncle Ben, who became his true family. Quiet, bookish, and endlessly curious, Peter grew up as the awkward kid in school. He was bullied, ignored, and often left out. Everything changed during a school trip to a science exhibit. In some versions, it was a radioactive spider. In others, a genetically engineered one. But the moment that spider bit Peter, the course of history shifted forever. At first, Peter didn't realize what had happened. But soon, his body began to transform. His eyesight sharpened, muscles strengthened, reflexes heightened. He could climb walls, leap impossible distances, and sense danger before it struck. With his new abilities, Peter did what most teenagers might do. He looked for fame. He designed a costume, stepped into the wrestling ring, and used his powers to earn quick money. The world finally noticed him. For the first time, Peter wasn't invisible. But then came the moment that would define his life. One night after a match, Peter watched a thief run past him. The man in charge begged Peter to stop him, but Peter shrugged and let the criminal escape. Just hours later, that same criminal broke into Peter's home. In the struggle, he shot and killed Uncle Ben. When Peter chased the man down and unmasked him, horror struck. This was the very thief he had let go earlier. The guilt was crushing. If Peter had acted, Uncle Ben would still be alive. That night, Peter learned a lesson etched into his soul. With great power comes great responsibility. From then on, Peter vowed to use his gifts not for himself, but to protect others. That was the birth of Spider-Man. Unlike other superheroes, Peter Parker was never perfect. He wasn't rich like Tony Stark or an alien god like Thor. He was just a teenager trying to balance homework, a job, and taking care of Aunt May, all while fighting crime. Every day was a battle. One moment he'd be swinging between skyscrapers, battling villains like the Green Goblin, Dr. Octopus, or Sandman. The next, he'd be rushing home broke, late on rent, or failing a date with Mary Jane Watson or Gwen Stacy. That was the beauty of Spider-Man. Behind the mask was a human being, with flaws, heartbreaks, and insecurities. He was relatable because he was us. Peter Parker's heart was as tangled as his webs. He loved deeply, but his double life came with consequences. Gwen Stacy, his first true love, became the victim of the Green Goblin's cruelty, falling from a bridge in one of the most tragic moments in comic book history. Mary Jane Watson, the girl who once seemed out of reach, would later become Peter's anchor. But even their relationship was tested endlessly, by danger, by secrets, by the constant shadow of Spider-Man. Every person Peter loved was at risk, because being Spider-Man meant carrying the burden of sacrifice. Spider-Man's rogues gallery was legendary. Each villain tested not only his strength but his morality. The Green Goblin, Norman Osborn, embodied chaos and personal vendetta. Dr. Octopus mirrored Peter's scientific genius, but twisted by ego. Venom was a reflection of his own dark side. These weren't just enemies. They were reminders that great power can corrupt, that even brilliance can fall. Every battle pushed Peter to his limits, forcing him to grow not just as a hero, but as a man. Time and again, Peter Parker was given chances to walk away, to live a normal life, but he never could. Because deep down, he carried Uncle Ben's words like a heartbeat. He knew that if he didn't act, people would suffer, even when it meant being hated by the press, even when J. Jonah Jameson painted him as a menace, even when he stood alone, tired and beaten. Spider-Man kept fighting, because the responsibility was greater than his own happiness. Over the decades, Spider-Man has become more than just Peter Parker. Miles Morales, a new hero inspired by his example, carried the torch into a new generation. Kids everywhere saw themselves in Spider-Man because the mask could be anyone. That's the legacy of Spider-Man, not his powers, not his battles, but his humanity. A reminder that ordinary people, even the ones who feel invisible, can rise to do extraordinary things. Spider-Man's story is not just about swinging between buildings. It's about resilience, sacrifice, and the weight of choices. From a boy bitten by a spider to a hero who carries the world on his shoulders, Peter Parker reminds us, heroes aren't born, they're made. If you love this story, hit like, subscribe, and comment who you want to see next. Your favorite hero or villain might just be the star of our next video.